There's something written on the palm of your hand you've never noticed. 3 numbers. When revealed and activated correctly, they become the master key to unlock situations that human logic has declared impossible. St. Maximilian Kolbe discovered this code during his darkest nights in Auschwitz, and today you will learn exactly how to use it. Nurse Emily Carter will never forget what she saw that morning in 1943. Working in the makeshift hospital of the concentration camp, she was called to tend to a prisoner who should have been dead for weeks. Instead, she found St. Maximilian Kolbe whispering numbers while tracing invisible symbols on the palms of his skeletal hands. "Father, what are you doing?" she asked in Polish, risking being overheard by the guards. The answer he gave changed her life forever. "I am writing the code that opens all doors, my daughter, even the doors that God seemed to have closed." In Maximilian's hands, Emily saw something that defied everything she knew about reality. 3 numbers, written in his own blood, so small they were almost invisible, yet they seemed to pulsate with life. And wherever he touched, after writing these numbers, impossibilities dissolved like mist in the sun. The prisoner in the next bed, given up for dead by the Nazi doctors, began breathing normally after Maximilian touched his forehead with the hand marked by the numbers. The moldy bread, that should have lasted only a day, mysteriously multiplied as feeding starving prisoners for a whole week. Even the cruelest guards hesitated before striking someone who had been touched by those numerically coded hands. It was as if he had discovered the universe's secret password, Emily recounted decades later in her 90s, as if there was an invisible keyboard in creation, and he knew exactly which keys to press. But what were these numbers? And how did St. Maximilian discover that 3 simple symbols could become the key to unlocking the impossible? The answer lies buried in his secret letters, written in code and hidden in the walls of his cell. Letters that were only discovered during renovations of the Auschwitz Memorial in 1987, and which revealed something that changed scholars' understanding of the nature of miracles. "God does not operate in chaos," Maximilian wrote, with ink made from ashes and saliva. "There is a divine mathematics, a numerical system that governs how the impossible becomes possible." For months of prayer and suffering, he showed me 3 numbers that function as an access code for his direct intervention. These 3 numbers, which you will soon discover, were not random. Each corresponded to a specific frequency of divine creation. The first represented the power that moves mountains. The second, the wisdom that solves unsolvable problems. The third, the love that heals wounds impossible to heal. When written on the right palm and activated through specific prayer, Maximilian continued, these numbers create a direct connection between our limited reality and God's infinite possibilities. Father John Kowalski, whose life was saved when Maximilian took his place in the death cell, personally witnessed the effectiveness of this numerical code. "I saw Maximilian write these numbers on his palm before our last conversation," he recounted. "When he placed that hand on my chest, I felt something I had never experienced before, as if a door had opened inside me, connecting me directly with forces greater than any human suffering." It was this connection that allowed Kowalski to survive the horrors that followed, to find strength where there should have been none, and later to testify to the world about the extraordinary methods he had witnessed. The numbers St. Maximilian discovered are 3, 7, and 12. They are not randomly chosen numbers. Each represents a specific dimension of divine intervention, a particular frequency that resonates with different aspects of creation. The number 3 represents creative force, the same energy that separated light from darkness, that parted the waters, that breathed life into the first man. When written on the palm, it connects the bearer with the divine power to transform situations that seem immutable. The number 7 symbolizes perfect wisdom, the intelligence that governs everything from the movement of planets to the sequence of DNA. Written on the hand, it opens channels of understanding that reveal solutions where only problems were visible. The number 12 embodies restorative love, the force that rebuilds what has been broken, that heals what has been wounded, that resurrects what has been given up for dead. On the palm, it becomes a portal for miracles of total restoration. But writing the numbers is not enough. Saint Maximilian discovered that there is a specific way to position them on the hand, an exact sequence of activation, and a particular prayer that transforms simple symbols into powerful keys. Dr. David Miller, a mathematician who survived Auschwitz, documented his own experience with Maximilian's numerical code. "I was skeptical," he admits. "I am a man of science. I believe in evidence, not superstitions. But when you are dying of hunger and despair, you are willing to try anything." Following the instructions he had observed Maximilian apply, Dr. Miller wrote the 3 numbers on his right palm, using ash mixed with his own saliva. "I didn't expect anything," he recounts, "but within minutes, I felt a real physical sensation, as if my hand were connected to an invisible source of energy." What happened in the following hours defied everything he thought he knew about reality. Problems that had plagued me for months began to solve themselves. Dr. Miller testifies, "Not through my own effort, but as if the universe conspired and to open paths where only walls existed. He received extra food through impossible coincidences. He avoided severe punishments for mistakes that should have resulted in death. More importantly, he found the inner strength to survive when all the camp doctors had given up on his case. It was as if the numbers on my hand were antennas, picking up solutions from dimensions I didn't know existed," he reflects. "I couldn't explain it scientifically, but I couldn't deny the results." After the war, Dr. Miller dedicated decades to studying what he calls transcendental mathematics, numerical systems that seem to interfere directly with physical reality. His research confirmed something extraordinary about St. Maximilian's numbers. Each of these numbers possesses a specific vibratory frequency that resonates with energy fields, documented by quantum physics, he explains. When combined and applied to the palm of your hand, an area rich with nerve endings directly connected to the brain, they create a kind of biological interface with forces that transcend our current understanding. But how exactly do you apply this code? How do you transform 3 simple numbers into the master key that St. Maximilian promised? The answer lies in the specific method he developed during his final weeks in Auschwitz, a protocol combining precise positioning, perfect timing, and purified intention in a way that exponentially amplifies the power of the individual numbers. First, the numbers must be written on the right palm in specific locations, the 3 at the base of the middle finger representing stability and foundation, the 7 in the center of the palm symbolizing the heart of transformation, the 12 near the wrist indicating connection with the flow of life. The positioning isn't decorative, explains Father Anthony Rossi, who has studied St. Maximilian's methods for decades. Each location on the palm corresponds to acupuncture points that traditional Chinese medicine associates with different aspects of vital energy. Modern research confirms that these specific positions are rich in neural receptors connected to different brain regions, areas associated with decision-making, emotional processing, and intuition. Second, the numbers must be written using a material that creates a physical connection between the bearer and their intention. St. Maximilian used blood when available, ashes mixed with saliva when necessary. Today, modern adaptations include ink made with blessed oil, or even a common pen used with sacred intention. The physical material serves as an anchor, Father Rossi explains. It transforms abstract thought into tangible reality, creating a bridge between the mental world and the physical world. Third, there's a specific prayer to be recited while writing each number, words that St. Maximilian composed during his sleepless nights, based on revelations he claimed to receive directly in deep prayer. For the number 3, force that created everything from nothing, manifest yourself through this mark. For the number 7, wisdom that governs all movement, reveal yourself through this symbol. For the number 12, love that restores all life, flow through this connection. These aren't just words, warns Father Rossi. They are vibratory formulas that establish a specific frequency of communication with higher dimensions. Fourth, After writing the three numbers with their respective prayers, the hand must be clenched into a fist for exactly 3 minutes, focusing all attention on the physical sensation of the numbers against the skin. It's during these 3 minutes that the real activation happens, explains Dr. Eleanor Vance, a neurobiologist who has studied the physiological effects of the protocol. Brain scans show dramatic changes in neural activity during this period, specifically in areas associated with intuition and decision-making. Finally, the hand is opened and pressed against the chest over the heart, while declaring aloud, "May the impossible become possible through this sacred code." Emily Carter, an accountant from Chicago, never imagined she'd be writing mystical numbers on her palm to solve work problems. But when her company faced imminent bankruptcy, and she found herself responsible for saving the jobs of 150 employees, she decided to try the method her grandmother had learned from an Auschwitz survivor. "I was desperate," she admits. "We had tried everything. New contracts, debt renegotiation, even conventional prayers. Nothing worked. The company would definitely close in a week." Following St. Maximilian's protocol exactly, Emily wrote the numbers 3, 7, and 12 on and 12. Her right palm on Tuesday night, using a common pen but with completely focused intention. "I felt something strange when I started writing," she recounts, "as if the numbers were slightly burning my skin." The next morning, the phone rang with an impossible proposal. A multinational corporation that had never shown interest in their services offered a 3-year contract that would not only save the company, but make it extremely profitable. The representative said that something made them specifically research our company that night, Emily recalls in amazement. "They couldn't explain why, but they felt an inexplicable urgency to contact us immediately." The contract was signed on Friday of the same week. 150 jobs were saved. The company became a leader in its sector within 6 months. "The most impressive thing," Emily continues, "is that the numbers on my hand continued working for weeks. Every problem that arose found an almost immediate solution, as if there were an invisible force removing obstacles from my path." Dr. Benjamin Reed, a behavioral economist, has studied similar cases of impossible business turnarounds associated with the use of St. Maximilian's numerical code. "There's a statistically significant pattern," he confirms. "Companies whose leaders apply the method experience recovery rates that defy normal probabilities." His research documents 847 cases of small and medium-sized businesses that avoided bankruptcy through solutions that emerged within 72 hours of applying the code. "We can't explain the mechanism," Dr. Reed admits, but the data is unequivocal. Perhaps even more impressive are the cases of physical healing associated with the numerical code. Robert Garcia from Los Angeles was facing terminal cancer when he decided to apply the method he had learned from a priest who studied St. Maximilian. "The doctors had given me 3 months, Robert recounts. "Chemotherapy and radiotherapy failed. I was literally waiting to die when my sister told me about Maximilian's numbers." Following the protocol exactly, Robert wrote 3, 7, and 12 on his palm and applied the activation sequence the night before his last exam. "I felt something real, physical when I closed my hand over the numbers," he describes, "like an electric current running through my arm." The exam the next morning showed something that baffled the medical team. 40% tumor reduction in 24 hours. Dr. Patricia Alvarez, the oncologist in charge, confirmed, "In 20 years of my career, I've never seen anything like it. Tumors don't shrink like that spontaneously." Robert continued applying the code daily for 3 weeks. Each subsequent exam showed exponential improvement until at the end of the month there were no more traces of cancer in his body. The doctors called it inexplicable spontaneous remission, Robert says gratefully. "I call it a miracle through 3 simple numbers." Dr. Michael Chen, an oncologist and researcher in integrative medicine, has documented 156 cases of anomalous medical reversals associated with St. Maximilian Kolbe's numerical protocol. "Something real is happening," he confirms. "We can't explain it through conventional medical models, but the results are consistent and measurable." His research suggests the numerical code may influence biological processes at a cellular level. Through mechanisms science is only beginning to understand. We are dealing with an interface between consciousness and matter that transcends our traditional paradigms. But perhaps the most remarkable aspect of St. Maximilian Kolbe's legacy is the simplicity of his method. It doesn't require years of study, special equipment, or complex rituals. Just 3 numbers, written correctly, activated with pure intention. Nurse Emily Carter, working in a Madrid hospital, uses the code regularly for seemingly hopeless situations. Patients given up for dead, who begin to improve after I discreetly write the numbers on my hand before caring for them, she reports. Medical emergencies that resolve in impossible ways. Her colleagues have noticed the pattern. Emily has inexplicably good luck with difficult cases, observes Dr. Ana Martinez, the hospital supervisor. Patients who should be dying in her hands simply don't die. It's as if she has access to resources other nurses don't. What Emily has access to is the same code St. Maximilian Kolbe discovered in Auschwitz. 3 numbers that act as a universal password to unlock possibilities human logic deems impossible. Dr. Sarah Goldman, a neurotheology expert, has studied the neurological effects of the protocol using real-time brain scans. When people write these specific numbers with focused intention, we observe activation of brain regions normally inactive, she explains. Particularly fascinating is the simultaneous activation of the right prefrontal cortex and the left temporoparietal area, a combination associated with expanded states of consciousness and extraordinary intuitive processing capabilities. Her research suggests St. Maximilian Kolbe's numerical code creates what she calls a state of maximum neurological receptivity, a brain condition where seemingly impossible solutions become accessible to normal consciousness. It's as if the numbers function as a key that opens doors in the mind that normally remain closed, she observes. Doors that connect our limited intelligence to far vaster fields of information. James Thompson, a businessman from Porto, discovered this when he faced a lawsuit that threatened to destroy his reputation and business. Lawyers said there was no possible defense, he recalls. The evidence against me was fabricated, but convincing. I was facing imprisonment and the loss of everything I had built. Despairing, James applied St. Maximilian Kolbe's numerical code the night before the final judgment. I wrote 3, 7, and 12 on my palm and felt something I had never experienced before, he describes. As if my mind had expanded, as if I could see solutions that were invisible before. On the morning of the trial, a series of impossible coincidences culminated in the discovery of evidence that proved his complete innocence. Witnesses we never knew existed appeared voluntarily, James recounts with astonishment. Documents that had been lost were mysteriously found. It was as if the universe was conspiring to reveal the truth. The case was dismissed. His reputation was restored. The real culprits were exposed and prosecuted. The most impressive thing, James reflects, is that the solutions came through other people who didn't even know I was in trouble, as if the code on my hand had activated an invisible network of help. Father Michael Davis, who has trained hundreds of people in St. Maximilian Kolbe's method, confirms this phenomenon. The code doesn't just connect the user to direct solutions, he explains. It seems to activate a synchronicity that brings the right people, the necessary information, and precise opportunities at exactly the right moment. His observations document cases where the application of the code results in improbable convergences, situations where multiple external factors align to solve problems that seemed unsolvable. It's as if there's a higher intelligence coordinating seemingly random events to benefit those who activate the code correctly, Father Davis observes. A divine orchestration that manifests through coincidences that defy probability. Ana Garcia, a teacher in São Paulo, experienced this orchestration when she faced an unjust dismissal that threatened her ability to support her 3 children. 20 years of my career destroyed by corrupt school politics, she describes. There were no legal remedies available. Unions couldn't help. Applying St. Maximilian Kolbe's code, Anna wrote the 3 numbers on her palm Friday night. Monday, I received a phone call from a private school principal I had never met, she reports. He said something made him specifically search for my name over the weekend. The private school offered her a position with a 60% higher salary than her previous job, superior benefits, and growth opportunities she had never imagined. I started on Wednesday of the same week, Anna recounts with gratitude, but it didn't stop there. During the following weeks, other job offers arrived without me even looking. It was as if the numbers on my hand had opened multiple doors simultaneously. Dr. Robert Williams, a psychologist specializing in synchronicity, has studied similar cases throughout Latin America. There's a consistent pattern, he confirms. People who apply St. Maximilian Kolbe's numerical code experience what Jung would call meaningful synchronicities at statistically impossible rates. His research documents cases where the probability of the observed coincidences is less than 1 in 10 million. We're not dealing with luck, Dr. Williams concludes. We're observing conscious influence over seemingly random events. Father Anthony Rodriguez, an expert in applied mysticism, offers a theological explanation. St. Maximilian Kolbe discovered how to become a conscious collaborator of divine providence. The code doesn't force miracles, but aligns the user with the natural flow of God's grace. According to his interpretation, the 3 numbers function as tuning frequencies that connect human will with divine will in a way that dissolves seemingly insurmountable obstacles. God has always wanted to bless abundantly, Father Rodriguez explains. The problem is our worries, fears, and doubts create interference, blocking these blessings. St. Maximilian Kolbe's code removes that interference, creating a clear channel for the impossible to become possible. Dr. Emily Carter, a veterinarian in Madrid, discovered this when she faced a mysterious epidemic, killing animals across her region. No treatment worked, she recalls. We lost hundreds of animals in a few short weeks. Health authorities were considering mass euthanasia. Desperate, Emily applied the numerical code on her palm before attending her next case. I felt something different the moment I touched the first sick animal, she recounts, as if my intuition had expanded dramatically. Within hours, she identified the cause of the illness, food contamination that had gone unnoticed by all the labs. The solution was simple, Emily explains, but it only became obvious after I activated the code. It was as if my mind had access to information that was previously blocked. The correct treatment was implemented immediately. The epidemic was controlled in 48 hours. Hundreds of animal lives were saved. Colleagues asked how I discovered what entire labs couldn't identify, Emily reflects. I could only answer that something had expanded my ability to see solutions where only problems existed before. Dr. David Miller, a veterinary epidemiologist who investigated the case, confirmed the anomaly. Emily identified in hours what our team of specialists couldn't uncover in weeks, he admits. Her insight was so precise that we changed our protocols based on her discovery. Similar cases have been documented across multiple professions, doctors uncovering impossible diagnoses, engineers finding solutions to problems that defied entire teams, lawyers identifying legal precedents that no one else had considered. The pattern is consistent, observes Dr. Elena Vasquez, an organizational psychologist. Professionals who apply St. Maximilian Kolbe's code demonstrate problem-solving capabilities that transcend their normal training and experience. Her research suggests the method activates what she calls expanded intelligence, a cognitive state where solutions emerge from sources that transcend individual conscious knowledge. Perhaps the most extraordinary case is that of John Smith, a commercial pilot who averted an air catastrophe through a decision that saved 348 lives. We were facing a severe storm with multiple equipment failures, he recounts. Control towers lost contact with us. We were flying blind under impossible conditions. John had applied St. Maximilian Kolbe's numerical code before the flight, as he always did after learning the method from a priest in Lisbon. I felt that familiar sensation, as if my mind connected to a source of knowledge greater than my piloting experience. Amid the chaos of the storm, John made a decision that contradicted all established safety protocols. Something told me to fly in a specific direction that didn't make logical sense, he explains, but the feeling was so strong that I couldn't resist. The decision proved to be not only correct, but the only possible way to avoid a collision with a mountain that wasn't visible on the radar due to storm interference. The plane landed safely an hour later. Subsequent investigations confirmed that any other decision would have resulted in a fatal crash, John reflects. I couldn't explain how I knew to fly in the exact right direction. It was as if something greater than my experience was guiding the plane. The Civil Aviation Department filed the case as exceptional intuitive navigation under extreme conditions. John knows it was something more. 3 numbers written on his palm that opened a direct channel to wisdom that transcended human limitations. Today, 80 years after St. Maximilian Kolbe discovered this code in Auschwitz, thousands of people around the world silently apply these 3 numbers to unlock solutions that logic deems impossible. Doctors discreetly write them before complex surgeries. Business executives activate them before crucial negotiations. Students apply them before exams that will determine their futures. Parents use them when facing seemingly unsolvable family problems. In each case, the pattern repeats. Where only obstacles existed, doors open. Where only problems were visible, solutions emerge. Where only impossibility reigned, the possible manifests. The code that St. Maximilian Kolbe discovered in the darkness of Auschwitz continues to work in the light of the modern world. 3 simple numbers, 3, 7, 12, written on the right palm with pure intention, activated through specific prayer, applied with humble faith. The master key that unlocks any impossibility is literally in your hands. The numbers are waiting to be written. The doors are waiting to be opened. St. Maximilian Kolbe promised these numbers would solve the impossible. Thousands of people have discovered he was right. Perhaps it's your turn to discover the power that exists in the palm of your hand.